Hello.
This is nice and fun, huh? Intimate little crowd. Wonderful, wonderful. Everybody happen to catch football games this weekend on Sunday? Yeah? You got some folks, certainly some folks from the Northeast pretty happy about the way things turned out? Yeah? Some folks not so happy about the way things turned out? Maybe one bad non-call that maybe affected one city pretty profoundly. I think it's pretty interesting. We could have ended up with a 41-year-old and a 40-year-old starting NFL quarterback playing in the Super Bowl. Which for some of us who are over 40, it's kind of refreshing, you know. Anyway, so I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. Thrilled to be here in, many people say this is the most exciting city in the world, one of the most exciting cities certainly in the U.S. We're here in an absolutely phenomenal venue with a great group of customers and companies. So again, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. Today, somewhat ironically enough, is my 99th day with the company. It's a really important day because at day 100, they told me pretty clearly I have to start taking responsibility and accountability for things that happen. So I'm going to try and extend this day as long as I can, try and live it up as best I can. So you might see me at the table for quite a few hours later on this evening. So I think for many folks, the most precious commodity that we have is time. And I want to start by saying thank you. All of you have traveled, some from near, some from far, with some of the weather delays we've had across different parts of the world. I've heard of more than a few travel disruptions. So thanks for taking the time to spend with us over the course of the next couple days. It's certainly appreciated. Can I get maybe a show of hands? And I can see the crowd reasonably well. How many folks first time at Connect? All right, decent chunk of folks. Okay, me too, by the way. How many folks have been here 5 times or more? Pretty good group of folks. Yeah, all right. 10 times or more? Oh, those folks are ready to raise their hand. How about 20 times or more? No, we've got a 20. 20. All right, we got a couple of hands. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you again for investing time, energy, and effort to be here with us today, the next couple of days. We're looking forward to a great deal of good, productive interaction, something hopefully that makes us collectively all better together. So this is what I think is a great visual representation of customers and companies around the room. Folks that have chosen to partner with us through the years, and again, folks that have chosen to invest their time and energy to be here for the course of the next couple days. And one thing that's not lost on me in my kind of 3+ months of being with the company, I'm used to dealing with a lot of large-scale organizations, multinational companies, but it's not lost on me the number of companies that we deal with day in, day out that are second generation, third generation, fourth generation family businesses. And lots of folks go to work at a company and it's their livelihood, it's their paycheck, it's how they support themselves or their family. What's become really apparent to me is for many of you in the room, how much further it goes beyond that. It's not just your livelihood, it's in many ways your legacy. I've heard stories of companies that were formed before World War I. Companies that have made it through 2 world wars and have kind of survived and thrived to be here today. So I just want to assure you that's not lost on me. It's something I take very seriously. It certainly imparts a humbling level of ownership on us to make sure we're showing up every single day in our best to make sure we're doing a good job for you. So an event of this magnitude at a venue as nice as this doesn't happen without great sponsors. So let me say a word of thanks to all of our sponsors who've kind of enabled the event in the next couple of days, with a special thanks to our platinum sponsors, Ricoh and Xerox. So the world's changing around us. It's changing at a really, really rapid rate. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about that and what that means. And I thought that maybe it'd be appropriate to start kind of 30 years ago. And it's not 100% arbitrary that we pick 30 years. But 30 years ago, this little company called EFI started. 30 years ago, the Microsoft suite for Windows debuted, and the World Wide Web kind of started parsing and aggregating the internet into a manner that's usable and functional for all of us. And I'd say in many, many ways, the world has never been the same since those 30 years, excuse me. So you fast forward another 10 years, and we get to 20 years ago, very first Connect 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there we go, very first Connect. 20 years ago, for those of you who can recall, in 1999, everybody thought come midnight of the 31st, the world was going to stop. All computers were going to come to a crashing halt. There was going to be some sort of zombie apocalypse that ended up happening as we stepped into January 1st of 2000. And somehow we all survived that. And this little company by the name of Google started in 1998. And it's hard to think about what life was like in some ways before Google. How we got anywhere, how we researched anything, how we knew anything, how we figured out any sort of trivia or anything else that had happened 20 years ago. A period of really substantial change. So you fast forward another 10 years, and if in 1999 we thought the world was going to end because of Y2K, in 98, 99, there was this premonition that, geez, from an economic perspective or so, we were certainly in for a really, really rough time. In 2007, Apple comes out with the first iPhone. Somewhere in the mid to late 2000s, social media really ramps up in a very, very substantial fashion. And all these things kind of happen, more or less as we're kind of exiting the late 2000 decade into 2010. So a 30-year time stamp, a 20-year time stamp, a 10-year time stamp, which brings us to today. This world I think we're in where, we're always connected. That picture of the entire family kind of staring down at their smartphones looks like a lot of family conversations and family dinners. It's a 100% social world. It's a 100% mobile world. The intersection of big data, cloud computing is making it so I think all of us in the room probably feel like we're better informed, we're better educated, we understand marketplaces much better than we ever did before. But at the same time, so does a customer. And so does a customer's customer. And downstream, I think we've all become more powerful consumers as we've had that level of computing power in our hands and had that level of connectivity in this always-on type world. And I'm a big believer in not only has there been a great deal of change over the course of the last 30 years, but change and technology continues to accelerate at a fairly dizzying speed. And hopefully we'll get the animation on this pretty well. No, we won't. Hopefully the printing press reads out pretty well here, all the way back in the 1400s. I thought it was kind of appropriate for this audience. We see the printing press make its mark. And then increasingly, subsequent levels of kind of breakthrough technology happen faster and faster and faster and faster, as technology kind of continues to change at an increasingly exponential rate. And I think as much as change is a constant, from a technology perspective, the speed of change is only getting faster and faster and faster. And then as we were doing some preparation for Connect and kicking off presentations and what have you, I found this to be a really interesting slide. Technology continues to change at an exponential rate. Businesses or organizations change at nowhere near as fast of a rate. You end up with almost a bifurcation, if you will, of the rate of change between technology and organizations. And that challenge just grows over time. Thought this slide was appropriately prophetic, and I couldn't figure exactly when Jack Welch said this, but it says that the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside. The end is near for the organization. And I think a lesson that all businesses at this point in time need to take. So here we sit in 2019 at Connect. I want to start off with just a little video. I think our marketing folks did a phenomenal job with that. It really shows the level of innovation taking place across the company and how much of that innovation takes place in some level of partnership with so many of you across the room. And I hope as you walked in and as you walk out of this room, you take a moment to really kind of take in, when we talk about spectacular imagery and some of the things that we're doing together, to take in all the different ways and all the different markets in which that manifests itself. Because when we say print is everywhere, boy, it really is. I mean, it really is everywhere in so many different markets. So I thought this was a good slide. We talk about industries that are facing headwinds, industries that are impacted by technological change. Over the last 7 years or so,